Welcome to Vin and Mike, episode 70. What is up, Mike?
We're back.
We are back. Long vacation.
It's been a little long vacation there.
Yeah.
So much has happened.
You know, we were gallivanting through the United States, the both of us, all over the place, and we're now back and happy to be here with everyone again. You know, a lot of good stuff coming down the pipeline now on the Vin and Mike podcast. So we're excited about some future shows, and we'll get into that later in the week when you can check out the Instagram and the Twitter and see exactly what we have going on, right?
Yes, Vin.
All right. So the usual stuff. Viggy Betts, he is no longer on Twitter because they banned him. I shouldn't laugh, but he's struggling over there. His Twitter, I don't know what he did. I have no clue. But he's still doing his handicapping. He's got his Instagram page. You can check him out on Instagram at Viggy Betts. You can DM him on Instagram and let him know you're a fan of Vin and Mike. He'll hook you up with a VIP membership. I know he did a lot with this NCAA tournament. Baseball's around the corner. He likes to do no-run first inning. He's big into that. So all that fun stuff is there at Viggy Betts. We are, of course, on the Pigskin Podcast Network, TPPN. We're also in Kansas City, KKFI. Hello, Kansas City.
Hello.
And of course, the website, vinandmikepodcast.com. A lot of cool stuff there. Our good friend Dan Hernandez just picked up a shirt this week, or last week it was. He let us know. We appreciate him and all our other friends and fans of the show that have picked up a bunch of stuff, and we're still donating to different charities. The last charity was Damar Hamlin. That was what we donated to the last time we got some funds, and we'll see once the big money comes rolling in April where it's going to go to. So, all right, Mike. Like you said, we've been away for a while, and I know there's one topic that you want to start off with, and it was the passing of NBA legend, Knicks legend, Willis Reed. So, get Mike dig into it a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we didn't get to dig into this, but when I heard about it, my dad actually sent it to me, and although I wasn't in that generation of watching those Knicks teams, I have appreciation for it, watching the highlights and really understanding Knicks history, what Willis Reed was for that franchise. And when he came into the league in 1964, the Knicks were not a good ball club. They were building a team. And what he symbolized was, especially in Game 7, if you for our younger viewers, if you haven't watched Game 7 against the Lakers in 1970 to see what happened when he was hurt before the game, they didn't know if he was going to play, and then you hear the great Marv Albert. He comes in the shooting session. Here comes the captain, and he came in. He played with that limp. He only scored 4 points that game, but he scored the first 4 points. But he was courageous, team leader. I got shooken up when Walt Frazier was talking about him, because he was really Clyde's mentor and what he did for him. Interestingly enough, as the Knicks were building, they had players. Willis Reed was playing a forward position, and they had these guys, Walt Bellamy and Howard Comize, and the big trade happened when those two were traded to Detroit, and they got Dave DeBusschere. Once Dave DeBusschere came, he took the forward position. Reed went to center, and then the Knicks just really started winning, and everything was in place. He was the original captain. So for a lot of us grew up with Patrick Ewing, but Willis, you know what? He was the captain. He won 2 NBA championships, 1970, 1973. It hit because he was really the first legitimate center, all-star captain And what he did for that franchise was just incredible. Just incredible. You watch those highlights.
Yeah, I think, one of the things that always stuck out with me, and when you read into it, is that he actually tore his quad on that leg
Mhm.
in Game 5. He missed Game 6, and Wilt went off in Game 6. Chamberlain had a monster game. And really, Willis had to go out there just to slow Chamberlain down. He only played the first half. Like you said, he scored the first 4 points. I think he only had like 3 rebounds. The guy had a torn quad. Think about having a torn quad and trying to just walk on it. Might as well try to go out there and play up and down a court in basketball and all this stuff, especially in 1970.
Right.
Where nothing medically is even close to the same what it is now, and training staffs and all that. So he really guided that first Knicks championship. It's a symbolic championship in New York history, right? Anytime that date rolls around and any talk of Willis Reed or Clyde Frazier, that's what's shown on TV, especially more Willis. People forget that Clyde had that monster game in Game 7, right? We talked about that. 19 assists, but it didn't even matter. It was that Willis Reed was out there. And, I told you my story when he was the GM of the Nets, and he came out of the after the draft in 96 and walked into the parking lot. And he didn't want to be bothered. He seemed real angry about the Nets draft there in 96. But, he even was a front office guy later in his career, 2-time NBA champion, really symbolized what, that gritty New York mentality was. And like you said, Clyde had a very tough time. I think it was the Heat that they played the first game back.
That's right. Him and Mike.
They just had a tough time announcing. You could just tell it was a tough moment for him. And this is a guy that he knew, over 50 plus years of his life, right? I mean, that's the thing that people forget. It's not only that they play together, it's their continuing
friendship
and knowing each other for 50 plus years. That's a tremendous amount of time. Yeah. When you think about it, right? Like they knew each other before we were born. I mean, that's like the crazy part of the whole thing when you hear him talk about it. But he'll be surely missed around, here, especially, in the Garden and the reaction that we've gotten from him and all that stuff. So it was a sad day in New York sports history. Absolutely was, and we send our condolences to his family and friends and all that. So I know it was a difficult day, but as we always say, Mike, that's part of life, and we got to step forward and keep going. So
that's right.
I expect everyone in Knick land that knew Willis will continue moving in that direction. So, all right.
And I just think real quickly, and we'll touch upon it probably a little later, that these New York Knicks of 2023, Willis would be proud of the way they've been playing and how they're just really getting to that next level. You see displays of just team unity, the extra pass, defense, right? And that was all those early 1970s teams that Clyde always alludes to. They played team defense and they were unselfish, and that's kind of reminiscent of these 2023 Knicks and what they're doing.
Yeah. And we'll dig into that a little later. Especially I like the way Julius Randle's handling himself on and off the court. He's definitely brought the fan base back onto his side, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Let's start where we like to start, because it's continued to be a hot topic for the last, I'm guessing it's a month and a half now. And it's the status of not only Aaron Rodgers, but Lamar Jackson. And probably Lamar's been a little longer. And then today, Lamar tweeted out essentially that on March 2nd, which is 25 days ago, he did ask the Ravens to trade him. And he publicly came out with that. So I think you, as a Jets fan now, have something that I think was up in the air last time. Like, who had leverage, Packers or Jets? I think now Jets have some leverage in this Aaron Rodgers situation. And this is where the way I look at it, that you have a 26-year-old quarterback who essentially you can sign today, and give up 2 first-round picks. And if the Ravens don't match it, you get Lamar at a 5-year or whatever, $250 million deal. Let's just use those round numbers, right? And you give up 2 first-round picks. But I think he comes out here and says he wants to be traded. Now, I wouldn't sign him and give up 2 first-round picks. He doesn't want to be there. So now you can go back and say, all right, I'll give you my first rounder this year and a 3rd rounder next year. Right. Because I shouldn't have to sign him the 5 years, $250 million. But then you go back to the Packers and you say, listen, I get this guy. He could be my quarterback for the next 10 years. I'm only going to have Rodgers next year minimum, and maybe that's all I'll have him, but the most I'm going to have him maybe is two years. Right. So why am I going to give you my number 13 pick this year when I can give that number 13 pick to Baltimore? Right. Back, a guy that's going to be my franchise quarterback for the next 5 years at least, maybe the next 10. And, who knows what Lamar does with Garrett Wilson and that team and all that stuff, and then playing again in the AFC East. The guy's won, division titles in the North. He's been successful. He hasn't been phenomenal in the playoffs yet, but again, young guy, maybe a different system, different things. It now all heats up, in my opinion. And I think now the Packers got to think to themselves, hey, maybe we're just going to have to take a 2nd-round pick at this point. And then let's say they don't make the trade and Lamar comes in. Now what the Packers do with Aaron Rodgers, who's basically told them, I'm playing for the Jets. They just got to figure out the compensation. Well, now you're not playing for the Jets. What's Aaron Rodgers do? Is he going to say retire or trade me to the Ravens now? I don't know. What are you thinking, Mike?
I just had a question about, do you think it's good that the players they show their cards? Like, do you feel like they should kind of keep that to themselves? I'm just curious what you think about that, like being so open about that.
Well, I think if you're a fan of the team, it depends on which way you look at it, right? Like if I'm a fan of the Ravens, I'm a little disappointed right now, especially if I was, all in on Lamar as a Ravens fan. And I'm a little upset that, he wants to leave, and I'm upset at my team of why can't we get this done and all that stuff. I think for the player, I think it's, they're just basically saying, I'm tired of hearing all this false information from me out there. You guys are talking to whoever your contacts are in the media and putting out all this news that's not true. And I'm tired of hearing about it because you guys are trying to make me look in a bad light and trying to, make things tougher for me moving forward. So, I think it all depends, right, on what situation you're in. How would you feel? So let's say you have a franchise quarterback,
right,
that the Jets didn't want to pay, and he's maybe not the best guy, but he's definitely not the worst, and he's shown that he's won an MVP, and he's shown that he can get to the playoffs, and then all of a sudden your team won't sign him because of guaranteed money. Like how would you feel about that if you were bought into that guy?
Yeah, I mean, as a fan, I would be disappointed.
Right.
I mean, I would.
Yeah.
But see, with Lamar, right? Ravens fans right now, I gotta ask our friend Corey about this. To me, if things don't work out, which it very well could for another team, things could not go through. And if he ends up playing with the Ravens, he lost the fan base.
Well, I don't know if he lost the fan base.
Well, how can you say if he's like, I don't want to be? How would you feel if someone's like, I don't want to be here?
Well, I don't think he's saying you don't want to be there. He's saying I don't want to be there because they're not paying me my value, right? He doesn't say I don't want to be there because I don't like Baltimore. It's like when Aaron Judge was a free agent.
That's
right?
That's right.
He never said he didn't want to be a Yankee. He just, he was looking for his optimal value. And
I think during that time, though, fans were getting a little tense, obviously, of what was good. And that's where the media comes. And remember, there's all those false reports.
But
that's
when
what happens,
yeah,
that's what happens.
But when the guy does leave,
Mm-hmm.
then you can boo him all you want. Right? He's no longer your guy at that point.
Getting back to what you're saying, though,
yeah.
with the whole Rodgers versus Lamar, you said it. You have a guy who's 26 versus a guy who's 39. Someone who's kind of in the tail end of their career, who's in their prime. So we knew if we got and let me just say this, because I was a little harsh with this and I want to make a little justification. I'm not knocking Aaron Rodgers. Guy was, 2 years ago he was MVP. Great quarterback. But from the beginning, I always looked at the attitude. And it's a guy who really wanted to play somewhere where he had a lot of the say, the kind of receivers he wants to play with. But I look at the window. At most, as you said, Vin, that he would have 2 years. And then what happens? You're back to square one, right? So to me, if you're parallel with Lamar versus Rodgers and what you're giving up, then to me, you go with Lamar. You're going to get much more out of it. And for your franchise, to me, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I mean, especially here's the way I look at it. If the Jets make this Rodgers move, which they still seem like they're going to make the move, right? It could be a done deal that we just don't know about, and they're just waiting to get closer to draft day. Yeah. They don't tip their hat to other teams, and
right.
Picks are being moved around and all this stuff. But at the same time, who knows? Who knows? But you have that 2-year window. If something happens this year where, Rodgers, hurts himself to the point where he misses an extended period of time, you essentially now have lost your whole time frame with Aaron Rodgers, and your team now has to reassess themselves next year, just instantaneously. And that's the thing. As much as I think there's concern with Lamar's injuries recently, ankle injuries, knee injuries, all that stuff that happened to him, and I'm not sure if he actually was that hurt in Baltimore and just was waiting to get that guaranteed money and didn't want to, put himself out there anymore, which again, that, could be a little disingenuous to the fan base and stuff like that. But ultimately, if Lamar does sustain one of these kind of injuries, you have time, right? He's not an old guy in terms of football age at all, right? He's still right there in the prime of his career. Quarterbacks do give you a lot more years than other positions most of the time. So, there's a lot of questions there. But ultimately, the Jets are looking at, the amount of money you got to pay these guys, the amount of guaranteed money you got to give them, how much do you want to give over the next 5 years to Lamar Jackson compared to an Aaron Rodgers? And then what do you give back on the compensation end? For me, I want Lamar, but I'll give you, my first rounder next year, not this year, right? And I'll give you a second rounder this year, something like that. Because I don't want to give up the 13th pick in this year's draft, right? It's a lot of good players that we've seen.
There's still things that need to be built. They're definitely not a Super Bowl team. You have to keep building your team.
Yeah.
That kind of.
And I almost look at the trade of Elijah Moore to the Browns and getting that second round pick in there, and that second round pick is the compensation to the Packers, right? Here's Cleveland's 42nd pick. Here's our whatever pick next year in the second round, and you give us Aaron Rodgers, right? Here's 2, second round picks, and maybe we give you back a player, we can figure it out, whoever, and then go from there, because I don't want to give up, top 15 pick. I really don't. Not for Aaron Rodgers at this point in his career. Now, Lamar, I might think about it a little bit more, but at the same time, you have some concerns there too. Everyone's like, oh, you just trade him. And, you could trade right now and get him for, give up 2 first. Well, you don't even have to trade. You could just sign him to an offer sheet and give up those 2 first-round picks.
That's right.
There's no reason to make a trade. There's no reason to give up more compensation than you have to, because that compensation's already set. If anything, now you go lesser compensation because right now you can match the money that he wants and give up 2 first-round picks. Well, now he wants to be traded. So I can match the money and I'll give up 1 first-round pick and a second or third-round pick in future years, something like that. So a lot to be decided here. But I really think ultimately, if there's any holdup in compensation now, Jets got a little leverage on their side, and they should take advantage of that and move forward and see what happens.
True.
I look at pick 13 for the Jets too, and if you keep that, you can add yourself a really good edge rusher there. You can add yourself another offensive lineman there. There's some areas where you want to continue to improve, and I think if you can, why not?
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree with you on that.
Yeah, it's just it's
interesting. It's crazy. I was just gonna say.
I'm hoping it's still in limbo next week so we can have these conversations with some other people.
No, it's just funny, and I know what's going on, but it's just like, it's there. All these other quarterbacks are in place. You got your Garoppolo, Derek Carr's, and the Saint. And the Jets, it's just lingering right now. But hopefully, patience equals good things. So let's just hope something.
I'll be more than happy to trade Jimmy G to the Ravens for Lamar Jackson. I'll trade you Jimmy G and our second-round pick for Lamar Jackson. You gotta have him right now.
That move.
We'll make a trade right now. I'll give you the second round of this year and the first round of next year, and Jimmy G, and you can give us Lamar.
There you go.
Go ahead, Baltimore. I just call it out.
All right, let's see what they do. I want
Dave Ziegler up.
I think they should listen and just
tell them Vin from Vin and Mike's podcast told us what to do. So this is what we want to do.
I love it. I love it.
It's I can't wait. We're less than a month away from this draft and everything, and with that, we have that going on. Real excited for where football is heading in the next month here. It's exciting all the way up to the draft.
Yeah, it's the best.
So, all right, let's. Where are we in time? All right, we're good. Let's jump to our good friends in Major League Baseball here. And I'm excited to start talking about this. And I know our man Steve is going to be excited.
I can't wait to have him on the show again.
Yeah, we definitely have Steve on.
Wow, yeah.
He's already freaking out. And I don't blame him. I don't blame him.
He's the pessimistic Yankee.
Well, let's be real about this, right? We have 3 guys that were slated to be in the starting rotation on opening day that are on the injured list. Montez is basically out till September. You have Severino. We don't know the status of that injury. He had the same injury last year where we lost him for 2 months. And Rodon has got the elbow flared up thing that they don't think is bad, but he's still not ready to go on opening day, right? So we're basically
Garrett Cole will have to pitch.
Garrett Cole, Nestor Cortez, Herman, Clark Schmidt, and Johnny Brito, who pitched good yesterday. I'm happy to see that guy. So I can't blame Steve to be aggravated over the pitching and all that stuff.
It's a little nerve-wracking.
Right? But I think Steve should be very happy because they did what we screamed about last year. And we screamed about it in August and September. I think we even probably screamed about it in October. That the Yankees needed some youth movement into the team, right? Like, give us some juice, give us some youth movement. And they went to Anthony Volpe yesterday and called him into the little meeting. And if you've watched Instagram, the Yankees posted how they Aaron Boone was tricking him into basically that he was going to get sent down to AAA and all this stuff, but essentially told him, you made the major league roster. He's going to be the starting shortstop opening day, 21 years old. He'll be the youngest rookie to start on opening day since Derek Jeter did.
That's right.
He'll be the first rookie to start since Aaron Judge did, 6 years ago. So he has put himself in a position with probably the two biggest Yankees over the last 30 years, right? I mean, he's in the same. So a lot of pressure on him. 21 years old, Yankee shortstop. There's going to be those Jeter comparisons instantly. Couple of good things is, one, I think he's already shown that he's major league quality talent. He's shown a really good glove. He's shown speed on the base paths. We need that. Good bat, a little bit of power already. All the good things. But I think here's the big thing, Mike. He went to high school in Del Barton. He's a New Jersey kid. He's been a Yankee guy. He's in New York City.
Right, exactly.
A kid. He knows what it's like to be in this area his whole life. He knows what comes and goes with being a Yankee or a Met and the media and all the attention and the craziness that goes on. So I think that helps as well, is that he already has an understanding of the area, everything that goes on. And I tell you, I'm excited to see him play some baseball here, and basically this week, right? I mean,
it's exciting. I just love just going back when they filmed the reaction with Aaron Boone.
Yeah.
It was just awesome, because it just proves that hard work does pay off.
It does.
And he did everything in spring training to get ahead, and he worked his ass off. And now he's rewarded for it. I'm happy for him.
Yeah, a lot of people
for the Yanks.
Yeah, a lot of people didn't think he had a chance of making the team because he only had 22 games at the AAA level, and the Yankees are notorious for, making sure you get a certain amount of games at like each level before they promote you to like the major league level. But I mean, really, if the guy is showing it every day, showing up early in the club, doing the work. Aaron Judge even said it. He goes, I don't care how young you are. If you're the guy that's able to do the job, you should be playing at this level. So, Aaron Judge basically said, this guy's doing the job. Let's keep him here. And I like that Aaron Judge already as the captain is taking charge of the team and all that stuff.
Exciting.
I don't know if he's ever going to hit 60 home runs again in his life, but if he can hit 45 to 50 every year and give us that for the next 5 to 7 years, because I can't expect it over the lifetime of his contract, and just get us one more World Series. One more. Come on, let's get number 28 in the books here. Come on. I don't know. We'll see. We got to get these pitchers back. So, but I don't want to not talk about Crosstown. I think it's nice to see Scherzer starting on opening day, nice and healthy. I like the move of having Verlander start the opening game in Citi Field. Everyone's like, "Oh, why is he not the number?" Like, come on, guys, calm down. They're
trying to do right by him with the Mets fans.
Buck is trying to, set things up. He wants them to pitch the home game, and wants the fans to see him the first day, have the crowd pumped up. I mean, listen, just because he's the second best pitcher on the team, he was probably the best pitcher on the team. But, what all said and done, that's what you want. You want some juice in this stadium. It's the third game of the season. It's 162 games. I mean, it's like, geez, people, relax.
Yeah, remember I told you we had to laugh about it when people are freaking out, like the team starts like 4-10. Now, let's just even go further. Let's say a team starts out like 2-7, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you'd be freaking out in the NFL because there's only 16 games. But that's the thing with baseball. You can make so many changes during 162 games. You have plenty of time to pick it up, right?
Yeah.
So people who are already making a stink about Verlander playing in the home opener, like, come on, like,
it's
have something else to complain about.
It's unbelievable, And the Mets, listen, that Mets lineup is ready to go. They have guys in place. They're just, I think they're right there, as competitive as the Yankees are in the National League, as the Yankees are in the American League. I think both teams should be in that 90-plus win category again. I mean, there's just a lot of opportunity there for them at this point.
Yeah, there is.
it should be a fun and exciting season again, and I can't wait to see how Joey Gallo does out in Minnesota, and
I know you're watching that like a hawk.
I'll get.
You're his biggest fan. You are.
Steve will text me. He's 2 for 10 with 2 home runs and 8 strikeouts.
Oh my God!
and then all of a sudden he'll be 4 for like 40 with 3 home runs, a double, and 32 strikeouts. So it's a lot of fun stuff.
It's pretty awesome that this is a great time of year because we'll get into our March Madness in just a second, but you have that, and then you have opening day coming up. You got your NBA playoffs coming. You got NHL playoffs. This is a really good time of year. It really is.
I mean, it was a good couple of weeks for us to take our vacation, be away after a very long football season and a lot going on. And now we come back right into the big hype of everything. And let's do the commercial. We'll come back and we'll talk about, of course, the biggest hype going on right now, which is the NCAA tournament and the March Madness insanity that is going on. So that's right. The biggest tournament in college basketball is underway, and the action is just getting started on DraftKings Sportsbook, one of America's top-rated sportsbook apps. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 on any pregame money line bet and score $150 in bonus bets if your team wins. Plus, combine multiple bets for a shot at even bigger payoff. DraftKings will be featuring parlays and odd boosts all tournament long, so be sure to check the DraftKings Sportsbook app every day to see what they have in store. I tell you, Mike, like I said right before we came on the show, either San Diego State or FAU is going to be in the championship game, and that's the game that I'm going to be keeping an eye on and probably put a few dollars one way or the other. I haven't figured out which way yet. I have to do a little more studying, but all right. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and sign up with code TPPN. Right now, new customers can bet $5 on any pregame money line bet and get $150 in bonus bets if your team wins. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code TPPN. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply, and see show notes for details. All right. So,
all right.
Some good stuff there in this NCAA tournament. So I tell you, and we talked about this, during the week before, actually over the weekend and all this stuff. We were texting, and we knew that this would be a topic we would discuss on today's show. But I tell you, there was 2 stats that jumped out at me that we both, talked about. One is no number 1 seed made it to the Elite 8, first time in the history of the tournament, right? The bracket. And no top 3 team it was, right? His first time that no one made the Final Four.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the parody of the now all of a sudden college basketball, and, I got some stuff to say about that, but I'll let you talk a little about the games and what you saw so far.
I want to actually compliment my podcast partner because he made an excellent point, because we're thinking about these seeds like Florida Atlantic, number 9 seed, right? No seeds, no 3, 2, or 1s. But Vinny had mentioned that with a lot of these top teams, people just leave. They leave and they go to the pros. Whereas these mid schools, you have people who say they get to build up during the years. So it's just really nice to see what we have here. It's kind of incredible that there's no number 1 seeds. Here I was at the beginning, and it wasn't the greatest pick because I had to look at their trend. But you look at a team like Purdue and Zach Edey and losing to Fairleigh Dickinson University when their height was – Fairleigh Dickinson was like – their average height was 6'4". It was like David versus Goliath. You can't believe it. So Cinderella stories like that. Princeton, Jersey fared so well this year, by the way.
Yeah, they did.
Congrats to Princeton and Fairleigh Dickinson. And, I mean, it's just incredible.
St. Peter's last year.
St. Peter's last year, right?
Yeah.
So congrats to that, to Jersey. But It's been so much fun, and that's the great thing about this tournament in college. There's so much variance, but even more this year than we've ever seen. Like everyone's just been saying, it's truly madness. Um, just been impressed. Like most of these games, they're going down to the wire. You looked yesterday, right, with Florida. They looked at Miami, excuse me. They looked like they were dead. They didn't have a pulse in that game against Texas.
Yeah.
And honestly, if I look back at it when they were down by 13, I'm like, they were going to pull away Texas. Like they weren't even close. And what's incredible was Miami is known for their 3-point shooting, right? They had no 3-pointers, and they still won the game in the second half, I think. It was an incredible stat. The other thing was, and I said this last year, Vinny, with college basketball, free throw shooting is so important in college basketball because you have the 1-and-1 and then eventually the double bonus, and games are either won or lost by free throws. And that guy in Florida or Miami, I think Mitchell, whatever, he went. Yeah. There was an incredible stat.
13.
Yeah. I mean, that single-handedly won them the game. Yeah. That's why it's so important. So if I'm looking at teams, especially when we look at this Final Four, mark my words on this show tonight that the team that has a better free throw percentage gets the line more and just, they're going to win. Yeah. They're going to win. That's what it's all about in these close games.
Yeah, they were saying, I don't know the exact thing they were saying, but they were comparing Mitchell to Leitner, and when Leitner
92
didn't miss a shot against Kentucky in the actual Christian Leitner game, right? He didn't miss a shot in that game, Leitner.
Did you know that? Did you know? I didn't know that.
No, I did know that. Yeah,
you know that? I didn't know that.
I didn't realize.
I always know for the shot. I didn't realize he went.
Yeah, he didn't miss a shot in that game, which is incredible because you would think if the best player in college at the time, right, which he was, doesn't miss a shot, you would think Duke would have blown Kentucky out. Not that they needed a last-second miracle that Leitner put in, and that was the Christian effing Leitner game, right? Like all the haters, the hate became even more.
Oh yeah,
the Duke guys were like, this is our guy, just his game never really translated in the NBA. I don't know if he was too slow. I don't know what it was that didn't really translate from college to NBA. Maybe you know a little bit more.
It's interesting that you said that, Vinny, because I was having a conversation with Dave, who was on the show, our friend, and we were talking about just some of these college players who were complete all-stars in college, like a Pearl Washington, right? Yeah. It's Christian Leitner, right? And they just couldn't cut in the NBA. That's how hard it is to make it in the NBA. It's a different game, right? But these guys were like Leitner. He was the only college player on the Dream Team.
Right.
He was selected. So you thought he would have had a strong NBA career. It just didn't translate at all.
And then for me, I always looked at Grant Hill in college, great college player, but never a great scorer in college, right? It didn't look like he was going to be a great NBA scorer. Comes the NBA and he's one of the best scorers in the league. So, it's just some things just don't translate and other things, translate in a different way. Yeah, it's just very interesting that, how certain players are, and it just doesn't go to the next level. You think about that even probably from the high school to college level, that probably a lot of these guys that are 5-star recruits, they just don't accomplish it in college. And, you don't know what it is that holds them back. Is it where they live, the college they went to, personal lives? There's got to be other little things off the court that affect them and impact them. And not just basketball, all sports, right? I mean, there's guys, we see it. Zach Wilson was a second overall pick. He showed big arm. He showed all this stuff, intelligence, all this, and it doesn't translate. None of it translates.
Just real quick, this, how I got into the card collecting. So we were in Connecticut last summer. I'm like, let me pick up this Zach Wilson rookie. Guy's got promise. So
what'd you get it for?
I think 25.
What's it worth now? 2?
Yeah, probably, if I'm lucky.
Probably.
Listen, as of right now, yes, but maybe he could go to another team and be successful. Maybe he could be like a Geno Smith. I don't.
Yeah, who knows? All right, back to this Final Four real quick.
Yes.
So just, I would think for me, looking at it and watching some of the games and seeing everything, I can't see, now I'm probably going to be 100% incorrect here, but I can't see how UConn doesn't win everything at this point.
Well, they're dominating, right?
I mean, they were so good against Gonzaga, like so good,
Yeah.
and been so good, against like everybody. I just can't see Miami beating them, and I can't see the winner of FAU and San Diego.
I'll say something about that though, Vinny. It's all about pressure, right? So I think most pressure right now is on UConn because of the margin of victory. So everyone's pointing at UConn. There's a lot of pressure on them. When these San Diego State, Florida Atlantic, Miami, it's just like, you know what? They're in the Final Four. They made it. They have nothing to lose. I think these guys are having a great time. When you have that kind of pressure, it may not go their way. I think they're definitely, when you look at the matchup against Miami, Florida, I think UConn is the better team. But we've seen crazy things happen, so we'll see.
Yeah. All right. We'll wait and see. I'm excited for those games this weekend coming up. It's going to be a very interesting Final Four, and then the championship game is next Monday. But we won't be on that day. We'll be on the next day, the Tuesday, the 4th, which will again, I'm telling everybody, I'm telling you all out there, you have to pay attention to our Instagram. You have to pay attention to our Twitter and maybe some other social media sources, because we're close to confirming a pretty cool guest, and we just want everybody to be excited as we are right now. I know Mike is so excited that he canceled a big steak dinner.
And you know me, I don't give up steak.
I mean, that's like, I can't even explain to you what that's like. That's like giving up your first child.
That's it. That's the way I am with steak. Like, me in food.
They offered him a Rottweiler puppy, and he said, "Nope, I don't want that. Take it back."
That's right. That night is completely free right now. So yeah. We're hoping.
Yeah, so we're hoping everything goes good. All right, let's flip around here. Let's come back to New York. Let's talk Julius Randle. Our man Brunson. Our man RJ Barrett. Who else we want to talk about? Grimes. Mitchell Robinson, who looks like he's 90 on the court sometimes. I tell you, these big guys, man, their knees must get worn as the season goes along.
Yeah.
They always look like they can't even move up and down the court as the season goes along. But I tell you, and I want to start with just this one game.
All right, please.
It was Randall's 57-point game. I thought it was, he was on fire. It's like the first 50-plus games since like Bernard King since Carmelo.
No, not Bernard. Yeah.
Since Carmelo had like 50-something, right? Yeah. So it wasn't even the performance. The Knicks lost that game. And they went in the locker room, and here's this guy, at the presser and everything, and he's just sitting there, and he's not happy at all, Mike. He's not happy. Like, there's not an ounce of happiness in him. And, they're asking about the game, and he's like, well, whatever, but we lost. And we lost the game. And, we just didn't play well enough to win. And he almost felt like I should have scored 70 if we needed to win this game, because 57 wasn't enough. And like I said, we talked about this, 2 years ago when he came.
A different conversation.
I mean, he was struggling with, how everything was going. He was down on the fans. He was down on a lot of things. Fans were down on him. And now all of a sudden, I know for me and for you, we're excited about this guy playing every night here. And I think we look forward to what this team is going to bring, hopefully, in the next couple of weeks when these playoffs start.
Yeah, I want to say this. It's similar, actually. You mentioned Bernard King. It was similar to that. Bernard King scored 60 points against the Nets, Christmas of '84. And it was the same reaction because he was the captain, and Bernard was just like, yeah, it's great to score 60, but when you lose, you're there to win as a team. And you see what Randall's done with the fan base. This is a rare case where someone lost the fan base a couple years ago because of antics on the court, because of his perseverance and way he's acted and the way he gels so well with Jalen Brunson, that he is a fan favorite again. And you know how hard that is to do in New York, Vinny. It's hard to gain your fan base back. People have been so impressed with him. We look at the Knicks right now. I know they lost against Orlando the other night. They're 42-33 right now. You got 7 games left. You're in that 5th position. It's going to be very difficult to catch up with the Cavaliers, who are, I think 5.5 games. So you're pretty much looking at that spot, and you want to just stay ahead of the Nets right now. We're 13.5 games back. But to me, Vinny, this is definitely a successful season for me as a Knicks fan. There's been ups and downs, but what I really enjoy about this team is the balance of scoring. And when you have a Randall who, let's say, doesn't score, when he doesn't score 57, you got Emmanuel Quickly who scores 20-something, a Quentin Grimes, R.J. Barrett. That's how special this team is, right? So really excited about the playoffs. I think Thibodeau has these guys. We talked about this in previous shows. There's a respect for Thibodeau as a coach, and Thibodeau respects his players. And that's why it's so much fun to watch the Knicks this year.
Yeah.
For me, just one last thing is that if we could win a first-round playoff series, that would be my year. I just want to see good playoff basketball. I don't want to be swept. I want to be competitive. And I just been so impressed with the team and how they play hard every night. And think about this, and Matt, I'm going to say this to you, buddy. We beat the Celtics 3 times this year. It's no easy task. No easy task.
No.
So they play hard, and they gel, and it's just great being a Knicks fan right now. It feels like old times.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think we're at that point where the Knicks take us into the playoffs, win a playoff series, and it sets us up to, where we can move next year, right? It's going to be hard to beat Milwaukee, Boston, Philadelphia, right? I mean, those are this Miami team is really tough when you look at who they have, So if we can go in there, win a playoff series,
yes,
and then let's just say you got to play a Milwaukee or Philadelphia, and just play good basketball.
Yeah.
I don't want to get swept out of the building. I don't want to lose games by 20 points and just look like we didn't belong there. I want to win a playoff series and then be competitive in the next one. If we can figure out how to win a second one, then it's a whole different ball game. But I also think it allows these players that are free agents and some cap space and draft picks and all this stuff that the Knicks have, maybe get one more guy, right? I keep saying it, who's that guy we can really get to really solidify, that big 3, right? And then from there, it'll just be fantastic, right? It's like, all right, now we're back to being, an upper echelon team in the NBA. And we have a coach and a couple star players, and that's it, right? I mean, that's all we can ask for at this point.
I want to tell you what this is reminiscent of, actually, this team. And you were saying just to win the first round and just play one of these teams like the Celtics or Milwaukee and just play hard. And it's your boy Rory Sparrow on that generation.
My man.
In '84, that's when actually it was a great year for the Knicks. That's when Bernard scored back-to-back 50-point games. They played Detroit in the first round, so it was the 4 versus 5 seed, if I remember, my research, and went to 5 games, and the Knicks beat them, and they played the Celtics, who ended up winning the championship that year. But they took them to 7 games, and that's it. That's all you can want from your team. Like, win that first round. It's right now. You have the fans. This is your year to do that. Win that first round playoff series and play as hard as you can against those teams. And that's all anyone could expect this year. And you're absolutely right, Vinny, that we've said this, that you have Jalen in place. Great move. But we just are one player away, I think, from getting to that top echelon of teams. I really do. but now they have things that they could look at that this offseason, and you have a lot of good people in place and can make a good trade and get there. We have it now. So, yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool stuff. What are you thinking about this Nets team right now? They got rid of Durant, they got rid of Kyrie, they brought all these guys back. I mean, are they going to make any kind of noise, you think, or you think it's just like first round playoffs or playing game?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think, as we discussed when all that happened, I mean, to me, it looks like a playing game. We're barely squeezing in and losing in the first round. I mean, to lose those two guys, and then, of course, just all the drama with the Nets, and you bring in these guys. You have Bridges and you have Johnson and Tom. You have some good players there, but that's all they are, Vinny. They're good players. They're not great players. There's no one who's really great in my eyes, right? And again, you go to a new team and you have to build that chemistry. And I think they're a couple steps behind the Knicks right now. Like, I think that this was a mid-season thing, and the Nets are going to have to make some moves next year because of what happened with their two-star players. But I think they'll make a splash, but there's nothing great going on there. You agree?
Yeah, I mean, they're barely holding on to that sixth spot.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Miami's going to pass them in the final few games here, but I would like to see them hold on to it and try to, not get into the play-in kind of round and hang in there. But again, we know you traded away two major superstars this year. You traded away a major superstar last year. Not that they did anything for the Nets in the time they were there. They didn't, the Nets should have been in at least one Eastern Conference final with those guys. At least one. They didn't make one. Well, everyone thought they were going to win championships. They didn't even make an Eastern Conference final. So very disappointing run there by those guys. And, again, Kevin Durant has been unhealthy ever since he got hurt in the Golden State last game, right? This last game in Golden State. He's had the Achilles issue. He's had all kinds of knee issues. He's missed games over last year. He's missing games this year. He's 32 now, 33. I don't even know how old he is, but I'm not sure if the Nets didn't make a bad move there, right? Like, at this point, I'm sitting there going, this guy's is always hurt. I think at this, I think it's a good trade. They just get him out of there at this point. He didn't want to be there, and he's always hurt. How often is he going to stay hurt these next few years?
I know.
Can't deal with that.
Yeah, you talk about getting to the conference finals and having a certain mix of players. Well, you look what's going on in Dallas right now with Luka and Kyrie, and it's just because you have two great players playing together doesn't mean success, right? So sometimes it's all about the chemistry of those players, what's put on the court, the team. But yeah, not good over there.
No, not at all. Not at all. All right. Any other topics or discussion here?
I think we're looking forward to the Final Four. We'll address that. It's exciting. Again, not having any the spot. Put aside number 1 seed, no 2 or 3 seed.
It's
just incredible. So we'll look forward to that.
Yeah.
Opening day's on the way.
This week.
That's crazy in itself. Looking forward to the playoffs, and that's really it. I think we covered a lot today. So.
Yeah, the spring race is at Richmond on Sunday. So shout out to our good friend Lori Warren. Hopefully she has a great spring race at Richmond. I'll send her a message to wish her well. Nice. And then we'll see once we get back into that second half of Raceway and seeing where we are. Maybe we can pop down to Richmond, a little later this year. We'll see how it all works out.
Yeah.
I hope she has a good spring race out there. It's her second NASCAR event while she's the president there and just a good person. So wish her well this weekend on top of it. So, like you said, Mike, April starts rolling in. You got baseball, NBA playoffs, Final Four, NASCAR rolling, NFL draft. I mean,
Everything.
I think NHL. We didn't even cover that yet. There's all that going on. Playoffs there. I mean, just a crazy time for everything, and really look forward to talking about it all. But with that, you got nothing else?
I got nothing else, Vinny.
Good. All right. That's it. We're done. Everyone, have a good night. We will see you next week.
See you next time.